From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
An iconic product that is helping improve nature along the way.
They're restoring that product to Tennessee forests.
A unique partnership that is people raising a glass to trees. Getting grain in the cart minus the driver. We'll look at the latest in autonomous technology. As U.S. ag trade remains sluggish.
We're still way behind where we need to be and way behind last year.
A look at the headwinds farmers are facing right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Bruck coming to you from our studios in Kansas City. Clinton is on vacation. Slower U.S. ag exports in May resulted in a record trade deficit. U.S. ag exports were down more than 3% in May, totaling just under $14 billion, while imports increased more than 4% to almost $17 billion, leaving a record trade gap of over $3 billion. The export number is the smallest since September of 2022. A major factor behind that export weakness in May, a $2 billion drop in soybean exports. That's because China and other soybean export customers have shifted their business away from the U.S. to Brazil. Now, with their record crop this season, their prices have been running well under the U.S.
The problem is that demand is very much lackluster. We're competing with a big crop in Brazil. We're still way behind where we need to be and way behind last year.
Competition from Brazil is just too much. That, the prices have narrowed up a little bit near term, but right now we're just not price competitive.
Brazil is also harvesting a record corn crop this season and is undercutting the U.S. in that export market. USDA reporting U.S. export sales on corn are running 33% behind a year ago. On the subject of trade, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in China last week on a mission to strengthen ties between the world's two largest economies. She began her visit saying the U.S. seeks healthy economic competition. While there, she appealed to China's number 2 leader not to let their frustration over U.S. curbs on access to processor chips and other technology disrupt economic cooperation. In a meeting with Premier Li Qiang, Yellen said Washington and Beijing have a duty to cooperate on issues that affect the world. She appealed for more communication at a time when relations are at their lowest level in decades.
During meetings with my counterparts, I'm communicating the concerns that I've heard from the U.S. business community, including China's use of non-market tools like expanded subsidies for its state-owned enterprises and domestic firms, as well as barriers to market access for foreign firms. I've been particularly troubled by punitive actions that have been taken against U.S. firms in recent months. I'm also concerned about new export controls recently announced by China on 2 critical minerals used in technologies like semiconductors. We're still evaluating the impact of these actions, but they remind us of the importance of building resilient and diversified supply chains.
Yellen says the U.S. isn't seeking a wholesale separation of the two economies, but to diversify. Meanwhile, the U.S. Trade Representative traveled to Mexico to hold discussions regarding the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Catherine Tai's office saying she met with Mexico's Secretary of Economy, Tatiana Cloutier, about several issues concerning energy and biotech corn. Tai highlighted concerns about the recent upsurge of steel and aluminum imports from Mexico into the U.S. Tai said that trade dispute settlement consultations over GMO corn that the U.S. requested in June are now underway. Areas of the Corn Belt seeing some rain over the weekend, but several areas in drought could use a lot more. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht has a look ahead this week.
I want to start off taking a look at that precipitation estimate based on radar returns. Now, remember last week we talked about those railroad tracks being set down over the same area. So not widespread showers through the United States. Rather, we have a pocket of cooler air up into Canada with energy coming down, providing some light to moderate showers. It's not all that much over the same area. You got a big pocket of dry air where we didn't see much in the way of rainfall, and where those thunderstorms took off, we had a substantial amount of rainfall, about 3 to 5 inches, if not more, through the panhandle of Oklahoma, Texas, back down here to the southeast. As that system exited up to the northeast, certainly some rainfall off on the East Coast, but in terms of drought conditions, we're still seeing some very dry conditions and need some rain over near the Corn Belt. Speaking of which, so the wheat harvest rolls on, like this one in Indiana. Jason sharing this video saying he handed harvest off to his grandpa, who is 89 years young. He says last fall, grandpa had a tumor removed and just had his last treatment a few weeks ago. Yes, but he says that won't stop him from harvesting his 71st crop of wheat. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Something to watch out for this time of year, lightning. It's reported several cows were killed in a storm that hit a farm in the northern Alabama town of Berlin earlier this month. Common Daily reporting the farmer lost 31 cows. It says they were found dead after a lightning strike hit in close proximity to them. It's also reported the beef cattle were sheltering under a tree during the storm. A relative of the man who owns the cattle says they would give the animals a proper burial and that the meat couldn't be salvaged because of how the cows died. So what would the future of agriculture look like without glyphosate? A new study says it would have a huge impact. The study says the immediate impact would be costly to the economy, farmers, and the environment. Aimpoint Research, which conducted the study, said not using glyphosate would lead to more tillage and fewer cover crops, which could result in the release of millions of tons of CO2, the equivalent of almost 7 million cars. It would also lead to a surge in input costs for farmers due to a limited supply and higher prices of alternative products, plus increase inflationary pressure on food prices and cut the global competitiveness of U.S. ag, especially corn. The report was commissioned by Bayer. Grains were down at the end of this week while buying interest return for cattle. I'll have more on the market outlook for this week coming up. And later, check out the latest ag equipment, including a grain cart that doesn't require a driver. A lower day in the grains on Friday. Darren Frywater Street Solutions is joining us. And Darren, it looked like favorable weather kind of weighed on most of the grain complex.
Yeah, it sure did. The forecast for more rain over the weekend and to start a new week of trading really let the grains finish really toward their lows for the week. Obviously, corn had made a decent move midweek, but gave a lot of that back on Friday. Beans finished kind of on the heels of all that. Wheat shows some promise here. We saw a pretty big move middle of the week, and it gave some of that back. But I think wheat is your new leader in the clubhouse, and we'll see what happens next week. But I would expect higher prices in wheat to come.
Yeah, so November soybeans actually had a lower weekly close, closed below the areas that we had the day of the bullish report. Is that a concern to you?
It's always a concern when you have really bullish news like we had on the 30th report, and then you close the next week below that. It says the trade has digested that, doesn't believe it, is willing to trade below it. And so we'll have to see. We're at a support level, 13.10 and 13.25 versus November. That area needs to hold. If it doesn't hold, then it's going to give way, and simply says the trade doesn't believe the smaller acreage number.
So tee us up into the WASDA report this Wednesday and how we're going to work in the acreage shifts that we saw, first of all, and will USDA make any yield adjustments?
The yield adjustments, I think, are the wild card, but I do think they'll probably come down in corn, maybe 3 to 4 bushels. I'm looking at 177. Might have to adjust beans, too, based on crop conditions. We didn't see those improve this past week. I do expect improvement on Monday, anywhere from 2 to 4%, but we'll see what they do with his yield on Wednesday. But 51.5, 51, certainly possible. Obviously, acreage shift or acres out of soybeans, just disappearance of those, that's a big deal. It's going to tighten up the balance sheet. I know they'll probably resurvey. They'll probably give us more information down the road, but we won't know what those acres are, what those 8 million left to be planted, how many of those got planted, how many double crops we gain until later. As far as the corn, 2 million more acres, nothing bullish about that. Obviously, the yield reduction will kind of offset that, but you really haven't done any gaining on the balance sheet for the bulls here. And we know exports are still dismal in both camps.
Yeah, so you're still looking at over 2 billion bushel ending stocks on corn then.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Darren Fry with Water Street Solutions. That's Markets Now, and we'll have more Ag Day coming up.
For marketing strategy specific to your operation, contact Water Street Solutions at 866-249-2528 or online at www.waterstreet.org.
So a little bit ago, we looked at where that rainfall came down, so I want to just give you a quick update on that drought monitor. Those locations where we didn't see much rainfall, we continue to see very extreme, if not exceptional, drought conditions into Nebraska, back down here to the south, panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. We're starting to alleviate the drought conditions. If you want to look at Colorado, as of right now, not in a drought. It has been a long time since we've been able to say that. Now back up to the north where we got some rain, we're staying kind of in that dry, if not moderate or severe category into Minnesota, Wisconsin. You got the deep red back into Wisconsin as well. So what this means going forward is we look at kind of what to expect Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This is Monday at 3 p.m. The pattern isn't going to shift all that much from what we looked at just a while ago, which is going to keep that energy kind of circulating around the pattern back up here to the north. So this rain isn't going to spread that far to the south, and any rain down to the south isn't going to spread that far to the north. So that pocket still stays dry even for our Monday. We'll try to factor in some light to moderate showers, if not a heavy downpour, but like we've had this entire season going back even through spring. Localized is the term that we've been using without any large-scale rainfall across the United States. That's what you're seeing into Oklahoma, is localized showers and thunderstorms rather than a lot of rainfall over a big location. Into our Tuesday, once again, we're going to get some thunderstorms back up here to the north, possibly trailing back down to the south with possibility of some much needed rain into South Dakota, but also other portions of the Corn Belt and also the northern plains. Again, this is Tuesday at 11 p.m. Temperature outlook keeps that pattern the same, with the cooler air trying to sink down here to the south and right along that contour, the contrast between the cold and the warm, if you want to say that. That's where we're going to see the best chance of rain between July 12th and July 16th. Now, as for the precipitation outlook, kind of follows that trend right in here where we could see some rain chances. Our best bet is if we can open up some Gulf moisture and combine the two and get more widespread rain in and across the United States. But again, there's a look at that precipitation outlet. As for the flooding potential for your Monday, we're staying in the 5 to 15% range. Driggs, Idaho, mostly sunny, high around 85 degrees, low of 52 degrees. Kermit the Frog? No, Carmi, sunny, Illinois, 85, a low of 63. Muncie, Indiana, mostly sunny.
Coming up next, will the used tractor market ever cool down? Machinery Pete has the latest on prices. And later, a toast to trees in Tennessee and a unique partnership that's helping improve the life of forests in the country.
Registration is open for the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour, August 21st through the 24th. Attend one of our nightly meetings or join online as we gain insight on the 2023 growing season. Visit profarmercroptour.com/register to select the stop nearest you.
AGCO recently showing off its latest machinery, technology, and prototypes at a field day in Kentucky to Farm Journal. And the word here is autonomy. Planned for a limited introduction in 2 years, the company is developing an autonomous grain cart system. It says it's intentionally designed as a retrofit system, and it's already showing a 33% increase in harvest efficiency. The company also demonstrated an electric Fendt tractor with the focus of having these tractors work for up to 6 hours before they need charging. And how about an autonomous baler? Fendt engineers say they're still testing this setup, which they hope to have commercially available in 2025, complete with swath detection and auto guidance. And in the next 2 years, AGCO says it will be introducing Symphony Vision via its precision planting aftermarket channels. The goal of the equipment is to spot spray the right rate of herbicide only where needed through machinery learning and AI. But the demand for traditional farm equipment still seems to be hot, as Machinery Pete tells us.
Well, folks, I've talked about this topic a number of times over the past couple of years, but buying demand for good condition used four-wheel drive tractors has just been incredible, and honestly doesn't really show any signs of slowing down. Now, if we talk a few recent examples, let's start off with Big Blue. And how about this 2012 New Holland T9 615, 1,432 hours on it. Now, this sold on an online auction up in Manitoba back on April 17th, and when converted into US dollars, sold for $303,062, which actually was over $68,000 above the previous high I'd ever seen on a T9 615. That sale was by the good folks at Ritchie Brothers. Now, it's not just the 10-plus-year-old four-wheel drive tractors that have been red hot, even more late model ones. So let's take the example, a pair of them, of John Deere 9520Rs. So let's go to a sale May 4th, a farm auction in De Pere, Wisconsin, by my friends at Miller & Company Auctions and Appraisals. They sold this 2020 John Deere 9520R with 1,307 hours on it, went for $400,000. Now, just over a month later, June 13th, farm auction, Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, another Deere 9520R. This one had 1,167 hours on it, went for $390,000. Now, those two 9520Rs were the third and fourth highest auction prices ever. And interesting to note, folks, that the sixth highest auction prices ever on 9520Rs, they've all come in the past 10 months. Now, if you're shopping for a good used four-wheel drive tractor, remember, check out our website, machinerypete.com. We got well over 600 of them listed for sale, many with well over 100 pictures.
Thanks, Pete. Still ahead, celebrating a well-aged partnership.
I'm Charles Denny. A partnership that marks 25 years. The University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture and the Jack Daniel Distillery here in Lynchburg, Tennessee, growing the trees to make the whiskey. That story coming up on AgDay.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineryPete.com and click Sell Mine. MachineryPete.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online.
The University of Tennessee's Institute of Agriculture has worked with the Jack Daniel's Distillery for 25 years in the production of trees used to make whiskey and to also produce seeds of other forest trees to benefit the whole state. As Charles Denny tells us, the two recently had a toast to the partnership.
A well-aged partnership, Jack Daniel's and the UT Institute of Agriculture, with history and beautiful forest. This orchard on distillery land includes sugar maples and white oaks, the trees used in the charcoal mellowing process to make whiskey and the production of barrels. But also seeds and acorns produced here go to the Tennessee State Nursery to improve the health of our forest.
They're doing the right thing. They use a product and they're restoring that product to Tennessee forests.
Scott Schlarbaum with the UTIA School of Natural Resources heads the university's tree improvement program and has worked with Jack Daniel's since the late 90s. He praises the company for giving their land for these seed production orchards.
And the distillery was initially interested in just sugar maple, but it's a large property, and so I suggested maybe some white oak and then also some black walnut. And from that we've grown, this is about 27 acres. From that we've grown up to about 65 acres in orchards. They had the land, they agreed to do the maintenance, which is no little matter. That's quite an investment in land, and use that land for the benefit of Tennessee.
In the last 25 years, more than 3,000 trees have been planted on distillery property at the direction of UTIA. Seed orchards from 10 different species.
When it comes to whiskey, making it and marketing it, Jack Daniel's is perhaps the best-known brand in the world. The product sold in 170 countries. Recently, the distillery celebrated its 25-year UTIA connection and its plans to continue this orchard research.
We like to say we like to grow in a sustainable manner. One of the things I think that's made Jack Daniel's over the years so iconic is it's authentic. It's authentic to Lynchburg, authentic to Tennessee.
Distillery GM Melvin Keebler says he's proud of this collaboration with the university, and his company is committed to keeping this area beautiful and sustainable through its orchards.
It's not just about our barrel uses. It is about forestry throughout the Southeast.
So a toast to trees. The forest will keep growing for decades, and that's the hope too for this partnership. It takes patience to produce tall trees and smooth whiskey. Some things just improve with age. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Thanks, Charles. That is all the time we have for this morning. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at AgDay, I'm Michelle Ruck. Have yourself a great day.